Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to CSM's 11th episode. Advanced placement, or also known as AP exams, are standardized exams developed by College Board for high school students to take worldwide. These exams assess a wide set of knowledge and skills for college preparedness and for further success in higher education. The Ministry of Education of the Kurdistan region has developed a rule for using AP exams in addition to the SATs and the GPA for college admission. To further discuss this topic from a student's perspective, please welcome with me two seniors from CSM Hawler, Mustafa Ayad and Sylvia Ghassan.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for being here today. And I'm very excited to hear from your point of view, what AP exams mean to you and what you can give to our audience, our especially younger audience. So I'll start with a few questions. And Mustafa, if you would share with our audience, how is the AP exam formatted?
All right, so I'm going to start with a basic description. We have digital and we have hybrid exams. So the digital exams, they're completely done on a device like a laptop or an iPad. Both the MCQs and FRQs are done there. And I'll explain what MCQs and FRQs are later. And the hybrid ones, MCQs are fully digital, but the FRQs, you only see the questions on the device that you're using and you answer on a piece of paper that's given to you. And most exams are separated into two parts only. The MCQ part, which has 4 choices, 4 to 5, depends on the exam. And the FRQ section is just free response. You write whatever the answer is, there's no choices.
Okay. Do you see any difference, particularly in difficulty? Are the MCQs more difficult or the FRQs more difficult?
That is purely just someone's point of view, opinionated. I think the FRQ is much harder because you have the freedom to write whatever you want. Meanwhile, MCQ already gives you the right answer. You just have to see it and recognize it. But it really depends from student to student. I've seen many people say FRQs are harder. Some say MCQs are harder.
How about you, Sylvia? Do you think the FRQs or the MCQs are more challenging?
In my opinion, I think MCQs are more challenging because FRQs, you have to read the paragraphs they give you, and then you have to answer the question. You can answer in several ways and can be a correct answer. However, MCQ, they usually give you many choices that are very tricky. It might be a correct statement, however, it won't be the answer to the question. So it can be really tricky to choose the correct answer.
Okay. Well, let's go to the second question, is the scoring of the AP exams. Mustafa, if you share with our audience, how are AP exams generally scored?
Usually they scored out of 120 points. 60 points belong to MCQ and 60 points going to the FRQ. The weighting of the individual questions differs sometimes. MCQs, if they're out of 60, it's 1 point each, obviously. But some exams have 40 or 70, and so the scoring may differ. FRQ, on the other hand, is completely different. There are 47 questions, and they have sub-questions inside, like little, it's a big paragraph that you read, and then you have questions for them, usually like 4 or 3 per question. And each one is scored differently, but overall it's out of 60, so it's equally divided.
Okay. Now, people hear 5 out of 5, 4 out of 5, and you just mentioned numericals that don't align with that. How does that work?
The curve differs from exam to exam, but generally 68, 70, 72, above that is usually a 5 out of 5 in AP, out of 120.
Which means you don't need to score a perfect point to receive a 5.
Definitely not. That's way too difficult.
Okay. So few mistakes are allowed and you would still score a 5 out of 5, which is an excellent on the AP scale. Sylvia, if you'd share with us, how has preparing for the AP exams, first of all, how long does it take for a student to prepare for the AP exams? And how has that changed your study and discipline?
AP exam is an exam that takes long-term preparation. So you cannot expect to prepare for AP a couple weeks and expect a 4 or a 5. It usually needs months of preparation. Personally, I start early January or late December after Christmas. I say is the perfect timing to start studying for the AP exam. Studying for the AP exam, as I said, since you start from January, I also have school at the same time, everyday assignments. So it has taught me how to manage my time, manage between everyday school assignments, as well as long-term goals, which are my AP exams or other international exams.
Okay. Besides time management that Sylvia has mentioned, how has it changed your study style or discipline in general?
Instead of memorizing, which is what a lot of students do, it teaches you to think critically. Like, I don't know how to say this exactly, but when I do school exams, just the normal non-AP ones, you need to think a bit. You obviously need critical thinking in our school as well, but maybe a way to explain it is like in APs, I need to use like 100% of my brain power. It really, really fries your head. You really need to use your head for the exams.
Well, they're advanced exams.
Yeah,
They're not the basic or normal, let's say, high school level, because they're designed for colleges and credits for colleges. Therefore, they do require a higher critical thinking level, as you mentioned. How about the preparation part? How was that for you?
Differs from exam to exam whether I was lazy or not.
Okay.
But usually I start studying in either the summer holiday or in the winter holiday, just to get immersed in the knowledge. Like you don't need to seriously study it at first. Just immerse yourself in the knowledge because you need to understand it like deeply. That works until you reach like 2 to 1 week before the exam. After that, you gotta start doing practice tests and a lot of them. And that's when you really need to manage your time well because you're doing like 2 to 3 exams a day, which takes 6 or 9 hours of your time each day.
You mean a full practice?
Yeah, full practice.
You do that, which some of them are like 3 hours long, and you do a
Yes.
couple of those a day. Well, that's insightful, and I have to comment on a point where you said you felt lazy. I don't think lazy describes any of you in any way or shape. You guys are diligent. You guys are hardworking. You're highly disciplined. And for our audience, both of our seniors here have 5 out of 5 in multiple subjects. And you're an example for how that is possible. It's achievable in addition to schoolwork at a young age. I mean, you're not in college yet, but you're capable of doing college level work in high school. That's something to be proud of, something CSM is proud of, and I'm positive your parents are very proud of as well. All right, let's move on to another question. According to a research, I looked up College Board in 2020, that said that if students take rigorous courses throughout their preparation time, they can earn a higher score. And that can also be a predictor for their higher education or college experience. So that tells me something, that you two are not just ready for college, that you will also do well in college because of what, according to this research, that the well scoring here is an indicator for college as well. So in your opinion, you mentioned ways to prepare for the APs, like start in January, like do multiple practice exams. Are there anything additional that students or other younger generations can learn from you in the preparation process, besides what you've already mentioned?
I can add that just cramming it won't work. It works in addition to immersing yourself, like I mentioned, and studying before. But if you expect to get a 5 or a 4 just by doing a lot of exams, practice tests, and reading the book like 2 weeks before the exam or even a month, it's not going to be enough.
Okay.
You need to really understand the basics and the advanced stuff. You need to know everything.
Okay.
I would say it's very important to test which resource works best for you. For example, some students might understand more while reading books, so they need to read several books to earn the mark they want. However, other students might find reading books won't really help them understand, so they depend on videos. So not every student let's say, should just use one resource. No, you should test out resources, test which one works best for you, and study according to that.
That's an excellent point of view, because many students who ask for advice usually think there's like a one package fit all, but it's truly not that way. You have to find your own way, your own path, your own study style into it. Another question was, how do you think CSM supported you as a student in your educational background and preparation for the AP?
Personally, as I mentioned, I have a 5 in AP Bio. This started in grade 9. In grade 9, our science course was AP Bio. So that was our curriculum. That was what we were taught. And at such a young age, I would say it's hard to fully depend on yourself. It's very hard to understand such heavy curriculum. So since our school teaches us this curriculum and we almost have exams on it every single week, that helps a lot to understand topics and to make sure we do not forget them and to be ready by the time we start studying for the actual AP exam.
And in addition to that, the school also offers lots of extracurricular classes, like outside from school hours, usually held right after school. A few years ago, it was on Saturdays, but they're all just AP preparatory courses that actually use College Board resources to have MCQ and FRQ questions that would probably come in the exam too.
Okay. Final question is a word of advice for our younger generation. If you could each share a word of advice that are taking the exams next May, and they hopefully get some hope and some energy and get to working hard before we have less than a month to take the exam.
My advice would be, since the exam is approaching, once there are only a couple weeks left for the exam, it is very healthy to start waking up the time you would wake up on the actual exam day, and to do the routine you would do on that day. For example, if personally my exam would be at 8 a.m., I have to be in school. I wake up at 6:30 a.m. I get ready like I would on my exam day, and then at 8 a.m. I sit down on my table and I start taking a practice exam at home. In that way, I will be able to train my brain for the actual exam. And of course, I take it timed so that I'll be ready for the exam and I'll be able to manage my time in the actual exam.
Very good practice and a very good tip. Thank you. How about you, Mustafa?
Well, I have tips for the exam itself. So for the MCQ, for example, if you ever see a question you don't know, you can just skip it and go back to it later because they're usually weighted equally. So there's no harm if you skip it. In FRQ, you should read the question carefully because exams like biology, chemistry, physics, they have these keywords that tell you how you should be answering it. Whether it tells you like identify and then it continues the question. That means you should just give one answer, just one sentence or one short phrase. Meanwhile, if it says describe or explain, you need to give a full paragraph to get the full marks for it. And another thing that I wanted to add is when you're practicing, be really strict with the FRQ. Trust me, this works. This will make you learn how to reply to the word indicators that I mentioned just now.
Okay. Well, guys, I would like to thank you for being with us today, for the helpful tips that you've had. You guys are exemplary students in your performance, not only in AP, but in general, in school. Your teachers are very, very proud of what you have accomplished so far. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope today's episode gave you a few tips in order to prepare better for your APs and score better on the next May exams. Thank you for joining us today.